Welcome to another episode of the Mike Smith Investment Show. Today we're going to be doing a technical and fundamental analysis on Nvidia. Over the past week, Nvidia stock has been soaring after its recent announcement of its deal with Saudi Arabia. Nvidia released this deal that it made with the Humane, a subsidiary of Saudi Arabia's public investment fund focused on AI, which it is to supply several hundred thousands of Nvidia's most advanced GPUs over the next 5 years. This is a huge development for Nvidia's business and a huge moneymaker for the future. On the technical side of things, the stock soared and it loved this. Right now, according to the RSI, it is quite overbought. So I am expecting a little bit of a pullback here. Should have future growth with the optimism for Nvidia's profits in the next 5 years with the Saudi Arabia deal. Now it is above that 100-day moving average, the 200-day moving average, and the 50-day moving average. So it has pretty good strength for that bullish uptrend that it is creating right now. Now before this deal, Nvidia stock was quite down. It hit a low of around 86.48 in April of 2025, and it hit its all-time high of 153 in January of 2025. Now a lot of investors are not looking at this huge correction point that I have created on the chart. We can see that every time that it does hit this point, it hits that resistance level, the stock does come down. We saw it right here, we saw it right here, and we saw it right here. Now every time that it does hit this level, it comes down a pretty significant amount. It is gone below the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average, and it saw a severe drop when it hit that level. And it went below its 200-day moving average. Now, if you were to get into Nvidia stock right now, I would be cautious. According to the RSI, it is overbought, like I stated, and I think there will be a slight pullback due to these overbought conditions. But once it starts to pull upward above that yellow line on the RSI, that is a great buying opportunity. Now again, say it doesn't do this and it continues to go upward, this correction area that I have outlined here on the chart, you need to be very cautious of. Like I've stated, every time that it hits this area, it has gone down, and it has gone down a pretty significant amount below the 100-day moving average and even below the 200-day moving average. So once it does reach this area, which I think it will in the next up and coming months, I think it will definitely rebound downward. On the technical side of things, my projection for this stock, I believe with the overbought conditions, we're going to see a little bit of a pullback, but a lot of optimism in the stock right now. We also have earnings coming up too, which a lot of analysts are saying that they're going to have positive earnings, a earnings beat. So that will even drive the stock upward. So I'm expecting a little bit of a pullback. These earnings come out, which is good. It'll send the stock into more bullish conditions, and once it reaches this area, another pullback. If the market is doing well, it's in a healthy condition, and a lot of optimism is still flooding into Nvidia, I think that it could break this level in the next up and coming months, maybe by the end of summer. Now, on the fundamental side of things, Nvidia is a very healthy company. Its profit earnings on a quarterly basis has gone down, which I don't like. I like to see a pretty high PE ratio, nothing too crazy, but right now 48.52 is undervalued from its quarter 3 in 2024. So you're getting it undervalued according to the profit to earnings ratio, and I think this will go up in the next quarter with all the optimism flooding into Nvidia and the new deal it made with Saudi Arabia. Now, this is a company that is very consistent with their earnings. For 2024, it beat its revenue every single time, as we can see from this chart. For the earnings side of things, in 2024, it also beat its revenue. And earnings and their earnings release is what drives the stock price up. So for its quarter 1 earnings in 2025, it has an estimate of $43.18 billion in revenue, as well as a 0.89 earnings per share estimate. Now for total revenue on an annual basis, it has been doing very well. We can see from 2020 all the way to 2024, it has produced very positive revenue. It has seen a 114.2% increase in revenue in 2023. And on the trailing 12 months basis right now, it is sitting at $130.5 billion. Its net income has been a little volatile, but for the most part, it stayed positive. The only downside we saw was in 2022 with a negative 55.21% decrease. But in 2023 and 2024, it's had very good net profit or net income. And it saw a huge increase in 2024 at 144.89% increase. And right now on the trailing 12 months basis, it is at 72.88 billion. Now for cash flow, I really like to invest in companies that produce a positive free cash flow year over year. We can see from 2018 to 2024, Nvidia has been very, very consistent with increasing their cash flow. The only downside we saw was in 2022 with a negative 53.17% decrease. Although from 2023 to 2024, their free cash flow has increased significantly with a 125.21% increase. On a trailing 12 months basis, it sits at 60.85. Right now, it is giving a 3-cent dividend. Nvidia is really focusing their cash flows on investments. They have about $1 trillion in capital expenditures, and they're also focusing their cash flows on their stock repurchase program, which is also a very good benefit for investors. Now, their earnings for all of 2025 have very good increases. We can see at the last quarter for 2025, their estimate is 1.32, so good increases, and they've been able to increase their earnings at a very consistent level, which is a very positive thing. On their revenue side, they have a very positive revenue growth, and they have an estimate for the last quarter in 2025 of 57.29 billion. They've also been able to increase their revenue at a very good amount. Now, with the recent deal with Saudi Arabia, as well as the concerns starting to wave off on the tariffs, Nvidia is a great stock to buy right now. I think you just need to be cautious of this area that I highlighted, this correction point. I think a little bit of a pullback here as it is overbought. The earnings comes out, and then I think it will soar up. Maybe another pullback as we reach this correction point. But I think if more optimism is flooding into Nvidia and the market is healthy, it will definitely break that all-time high that we saw in January of 2025. So thank you so much for watching this week's episode. Be on the lookout for more episodes this week. Please drop a comment, subscribe, and like.